How can you personalize your messaging to physicians for greater prescription intent? What are people saying about your brand? How can you make your marketing efforts more precise and effective? These and many more questions are answered on this podcast, which is here to serve as a playbook for all your pharma marketing needs. As your host, Saumya Prakash, co-founder of Multiplier AI Solutions, sits across pharma industry's top experts. This is your place to get all the insights about Gen AI, data, and beyond.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Pharma Marketing Playbook, Data, Gen AI and Beyond. Your go-to podcast for mastering pharmaceutical marketing, data analytics and AI trends. Join industry leaders as we explore cutting-edge strategies, the role of emerging technology and how data-driven insights are revolutionizing the pharma landscape. Tune in for actionable insights to stay ahead in the fast evolving pharma marketing world. I am Saumya Prakash, co founder Multiplier AI, and today we have a very special guest joining us, Ms. Viral Pandya Vaidya. We are honored to have Ms. Viral, a distinguished leader in the pharmaceutical industry, with us today. She holds a master's degree in biochemistry from the Institute of Science and a postgraduate diploma in business management with a specialization in marketing from Wellinkar Institute of Management. She has also enhanced her leadership acumen through the esteemed Executive General Management Program at the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. Viral's career journey has been both impressive and inspiring. She began as a senior product officer at IPCA Labs and quickly advanced through key leadership roles, including senior executive at Panacea Biotech Limited and assistant manager at Abbott Laboratories. Today, she serves as the general manager of Business Operations Group at Lupin, where she continues to lead with excellence, driving both business performance and operational innovation. With a deep expertise in business operations, product management, and pharmaceutical marketing, Viral brings invaluable insights on leading large teams, optimizing business processes, and navigating the evolving landscape of pharma marketing. It's a pleasure to have you today on our show.
Thanks, Saumya. Thanks for the very elaborative and very nice introduction.
Yeah. So, Viral, you have had an impressive journey from being a senior product officer at IPCA Labs to now leading as the general manager of business operations at Lupin. Could you share some pivotal moments in your career that shaped your path?
Sure, Saumya. So, as it is said that a journey of 1,000 miles begin with a single step. So, for me, that single step was starting my journey at IPCA into product management team. So, coming from a background of science and then having inclination towards management, after doing my management, I joined as a management trainee and got elevated into as a product officer into IPCA. In this entire span of nearly 20 years of journey, there has been many pivotal moments. But since it was my first, as you know, that first is always special. At IPCA, certain pivotal moments were managing the entire anti-malarial portfolio, which was a very declining portfolio as such. And to manage that portfolio, it required a very different skill sets, analysis, your communication. It all has to be very different. Here, the significant learning which I had at IPCA, that your planning, your communication, and your coordination with your sales teams is pivotal in ensuring the success of your uh, brand or the portfolio which we are managing. So this learning has stayed with me since till now, that planning forms the key to everything. Even if you're forming a very important strategy and if you planned it well, it will be executed in a very good manner. Now, from there, transitioning to a very different role, which is a business operation group, which is more from the point of view of managing the entire data, analyzing it, providing a required feedback to the management and the marketing team. That's a very different portfolio, both altogether. Now, here in this role, the pivotal moment were when we launched our automated. We automated our entire secondary sales. Now, secondary sales is a very critical parameter in pharma industry because it lets us know that how the sales is happening, what is the trend like, and we can reassess and we can have a corrective actions based on how secondary is moving. But the major challenge in entire industry, what I feel, is the transparency and accuracy of the data that we get as a secondary sales. So for this, we had partnered with one agency, which in turn installed the ERPs at the stockist level, which was a Herculean task. It took us nearly 2 years to stabilize it. But then now finally we get the data of secondary. 85% of our net sales secondary, we get it directly from the system. I mean, there is no manual intervention. Our field force do not have to go to any stockist or collect stock and sale statement. It directly comes to our system. So at a very granular level, that data is available, which actually helps us to plan our sales in a better manner. It gives us visibility that what exactly is happening at the ground level. So, this transition from manual to digital was a big change, and my previous learning from my company that your planning, your execution, your coordination, it plays a pivotal role, actually helped me to design this entire project. And in addition to this entire automation transformation, there was also one significant change which we had. We had transformed our entire CRM CLM module. So our entire field force, which is there for Lupin India business, they are all using the digital. They have iPads. So their customer data management, their reporting, expense, everything is automated and it is available on the iPad, which makes their work also very easier. So these were certain pivotal moments which when I look back at my journey, I cherish that certain transformations which we have brought and I was part of this journey. So these are certain milestones.
I think it's wonderful insights that you have shared and the emphasis on planning because no matter it could be any transformation per se, it could be the digital transformation, like you mentioned, the field force embracing technology with the new CRM, the new system at the stockist levels, or today AI. Anything, if we until and unless the leadership plans every small detail and communicates, trains the workforce, it becomes extremely important. And I think a lot of the success of your teams and at Lupin, the great results that you have demonstrated has come because you had that early on in your vision. How do you commit to a plan and how do you embrace that change step by step along the way? So it's wonderful to hear that. However, I have another thought coming up, which is leading a large team, especially for such complex industry-wide transformations. And as we know, pharma in itself is a very complex, highly regulated industry. This requires very unique leadership skills. And what's your leadership philosophy, if you could share? Because our audience comprises of the young generation, researchers, brand managers. I would love to hear from you. What's your leadership philosophy, and how do you foster innovation and the spirit of collaboration in your teams?
Sure. So, if you ask me about my leadership style, I personally practice a collaborative leadership. Number one, I have a very competent and very talented team which I have in my department. So that one makes your work much easier. They understand what you require. Plus, we have created kind of environment where they are free to think. They are free to share their ideas, whether it is transforming through automation or through transforming other processes or transforming or changing certain activities which we are doing. So they're free to contribute, they're free to give their suggestions. So throughout this journey we have created that environment where they feel comfortable to share what is their thought process. Otherwise, if it is not one way, it is not that we tell them that you have to do ABC task and they complete it and come back to us. It is that both top down as well as bottom down approach, they also have their own thought process. So we have created that kind of an environment where everyone is comfortable to contribute. I think that plays a very significant role, because if it is too autocratic, then people will not share their ideas. And this entire project automation, CRM, CLM transformation, we also have an app which we have launched where we get to see what is the inventory at each stockist level for each SKUs. Now, as you know, that pharma is a very complex market as such, and the kind of number of SKUs also which are available with the companies are humongous. Each brand will have 8 to 10 SKUs. Now, this at current moment, we have the complete visibility that what is my inventory lying at which stockist of which SKU. So this required lot of collaboration, lot of teamwork, which is there. And this the success of this project was majorly the ideas which came from team during the entire process. The way they analyzed the entire situation, they came back to us saying that these process A to B is not working, we should change it to process B to C. We should delete the particular strategies which we are doing. So the entire success depends on what team understanding is there, what ideas they are bringing on table. And it is very important to listen to your team and your ideas, because sometimes the idea which seems very minuscule can result in a very large transformation.
Yeah, I think I can hear all good points from a great leader in the making, because listening, empathy for the team, inviting their ideas for collaboration, and I think allowing them to fail. These are some things which are extremely important as leaders. And as you rightly pointed out, that since you were encouraging your team members to speak openly, and this is the culture which the organization promotes, I think definitely it leads us to a lot of learning in that way. Thanks for sharing that. As general manager of business operations at Lupin, operations in general is such a again a complex task, because you have so many moving parts to the whole chain. What are some of the key strategies that you personally thought could be a key differentiator or a game changer, and it could not only just improve efficiency but actually make it highly effective? Something that you would like to share with us.
Okay, so Soumya, as you know, necessity is the mother of invention. And in this ever evolving landscape of pharma, the digital landscape, the process, business is transforming very rapidly. And it is important that to remain relevant, we are adapting faster to this change. So, if you ask me what are the key strategy, one which I mentioned about automation of secondary, second launching an app which gives us visibility of our inventory at stockist level, transforming our complete CRM CLM model. Now, I would like to highlight upon here the recent change. Now, as you know that there's an emergence of e-pharmacies into the entire pharma landscape. And now with e-pharmacies, what happens, Soumya, that they have a purchase locations, they have hubs from where they purchase. But the sales happen in does not have necessarily happen in that hub. It happens into a territory. Now, since in our system the sales is booked in that hub, the medical representative who is based at that hub will get the entire credit, but not necessarily he has generated that sales. So, to have a transparent mechanism where the correct credit, sales credit, is given to that representative, we have devised a fantastic system where there's a transparent data sales allocation which happens. It was such a, I would say, very humongous task as such, because all the partners, e-pharmacy partners whom we have, their pin code data, their sales where it happens, we have mapped with each of our business units, because each business unit will have their own geography landscape. They'll have their own span of control. Now, my ophthalmology division will have a limited number of field force looking at the kind of specialty that we are covering. A cardiology division will have a different kind of a field setup. And for Kolkata, for my diabetes division, will be only Kolkata, but for my cardiology division, Kolkata and Bardhaman will become Kolkata. So, going into details, mapping my pin code of all our business units along with our channel partners. So once our groundwork was ready, then we were able to give a correct credit of sales to our sales team. And sales team are the major growth driver of our sales in entire medical and pharmaceutical industry. A revenue generator is a medical representative. So it is important that we are giving them a correct a sales credit, which a medical representative is generating sales. And this was a major business process change. So most important thing here, what we have to underline is that we have to keep ourselves updated with the evolving trend of the market. We cannot say that we will not participate or we will not be party to these changes. We will continue with our old strategies. So our strategies has to be akin to the evolving market trend. We have to anticipate the trends which are likely to happen, so that we can initiate the preparations much in advance, so that we are ready, that once that change is available in the market, we are ready to implement our strategies, which will actually result into a transparent business processes. So, and see, these processes are like a well-oiled machines. It might seem that it is working at a back end, but it is very crucial to run the system smoothly.
Very true. So, in fact, as I'm hearing these complex installations, and typically when in software industry we look at a product rollout, we have something which is in alpha testing, beta testing, and we set certain baselines and we check that the performance is actually expected guidelines are being met or not. Now, when I think of your operational challenges, they must be humongous because you were installing these applications from kind of scratch, so there was nothing existent. So it, how did you overcome these challenges of kind of checking whether whatever the data is generated was it correct or not? How did you overcome these challenges? I'm sure these practical hindrances would have consumed a lot of energy of the team. And
Right.
yeah.
So here, I think, see, if you ask me, the major success factor of this correct credit mechanism of incorporating different business channel was a thorough communication and coordination with our sales team. Because ultimately, the entire change which we are doing is for our salespeople, is for our sales team, and we have to take them along with us. We cannot just make certain definitions of our markets and roll it out. So in this entire process which we launched, there was a through and through thorough coordination along with our sales team, right since level of our all our regional managers were part of it, so that the definitions are correct. Even after launching for 6 months, there was a pilot which was there, which ensured, so there was back and forth of the data, which ensured that there were certain mappings which were not correct. We amended certain mapping. So, but we started much in advance. Before we start our financial year, we started it in advance, so that once we start a new financial year and we're actually implementing this process, we are ready with the accurate data. So success of any project is, initially we should have a pilot done, which will give us a better data understanding, data visibility, coordination with the field. So understand who is your stakeholder. They have to be part of your entire strategy formation, whether it is aligned to them or not. And then after, even after execution, we cannot leave it as it is thinking that the project is successful. After that also, for at least next 3 to 4 months, we have to keep on analyzing the data rigorously to understand the accuracy and ensure that it is 100% accurate data. Because in this sales especially, 90% or 95% accuracy will not work, because we are talking about sales credit.
Very true. In fact, today, as an industry, I mean, not only pharma, all the industries typically, we are at that moment where we are again, kind of, we have to transform ourselves with the advent of AI. So, from data now moving to AI. So, I think what you mentioned and learning lessons from that, again, communication and proper planning and leadership are extremely crucial to make these projects equally successful, because as you mentioned, if the stakeholders are not involved in the entire strategy formulation, it becomes very difficult to get the buy-in, whether it is the senior leadership or the regional managers, or at the end of the day the user who's going to use that technology. Ultimately they should feel empowered. So because you mentioned so much about communication, if you could throw a little light on how did the communication strategy evolve around these rollouts.
Okay. So, how did communication strategy evolve? So, initially, when we started, we were communicating, or we had this process only with the top management we were discussing. But as we rolled out the process, it made our belief much firmer that we will have to involve the ground level. We have to go to the last mile and understand and discuss with them that what are the practical challenges which are there and what is the practicality which should be incorporated in the overall process. And see how communication has changed, Soumya. The entire generation is different. As you go down the line, each uh, designation, as you go down one designation, after two designation, the entire generation changes. So way you communicate with them makes a significant impact. We have to be very friendly with them. You cannot be very autocratic because it's a new generation. After two levels when you're talking, it's a completely new generation. So we have to amend our communication along with the designations or along with the generations which is there to get the buy-in. So we cannot have a standard and uniform communication. Any process which we are creating should have certain percentage of flexibility, because if I'm making something which is very hard coded and during the process if we identify that there are certain changes which needs to be incorporated to make this project successful, and if I have made a very hard coded system, it becomes very difficult in that at that time. So we have to allow a percentage of flexibility into our communication, into our processes, into the entire framework which we are designing.
And absolutely gold standard advice to aspiring leaders, those who are going to take it to the next level. And I think very rightly pointed, we have to be careful on the tonality and the words and the selection of how we are communicating with the Gen Z today. They take things differently, and we have to be aware of that. So coming back, you have such a rich background in both biochemistry as well as in marketing, which is a very rare combination. How do you think these two fields, kind of helped you in complementing and in driving your product marketing strategy? Did it kind of help so that the students and the people from those branches can also learn from your experience?
So, Soumya, knowledge is power. Whatever you learn will be useful to you at some point in time. Today when I talk to my son, he's only 11-year-old, and he was doing some math problem and equation, and he said, "Have you ever used this in your life?" Or why are they teaching me to write essay? He said, when I grow up, I might not require to write anything. So I said, whatever you learn, you actually implement it, or it will be useful at some point in time. So when I talk about this amalgamation of both degrees, which is my science degree as well as management degree, it definitely gives me a better perspective to understand the overall market. Now, from a science background, gives me a good understanding about the molecular or physiological, or I can understand the pharmacokinetics and dynamics when I'm analyzing the market. So it gives me that knack. Plus my management is also gives me an added advantage that I won't be get carried away only by the science or only by the scientific data which is there, but amalgamation of both data, actual market data as well as science data. So it really helps me to perform my work effectively.
Yeah, true. And yeah, it sometimes those powers come out when it is needed. It's like something behind in our caps, and you need a management trick, and it comes out. And sometimes the science, as you said, the capability helps out. So, okay, so you have both, so it definitely helps us to get the advantage of your experience. Pharma marketing has evolved over the years, with a lot of digital and patient centric approach towards getting more traction and serious impact on business from the perspective of both pure business as well as, I think, from the perspective of ethical values, both the things. So how do you see the role of marketing evolve in the future, keeping patient centricity in mind, and also if you could give a perspective on how AI would play a role here?
Yeah, so Soumya, it is evolving rapidly, and the only constant thing which we have as of now is change. And our pharma marketing actually is at the cusp of AI and data driven insights. Going forward for marketing, it will be imperative to have amalgamation of both because it is inevitable. See, the way technology is evolving, we have to evolve along with the technology. In most of the forums, when we when we have discussions on AI, they say, will AI replace our jobs? No, AI will not replace your job, but the person who knows AI will replace your job. So there are too many humans who are already there. So we have to keep ourselves updated with AI, Gen AI, and we must use this AI and Gen AI to conduct our work effectively. Probably as of now, if I'm doing certain work which is taking 6 to 7 hours, with help of Gen AI or AI, it can be curbed down to number of hours. So it is inevitable. We have to embrace this AI and Gen AI thing. And it is also giving, see, right now the challenge, Soumya, is we have too much of data. There's data overload. And if we do not use the technology, we will not be able to derive the relevant insights from these data. So, for a pharma marketer to be updated, most of them are very good in science or they learn and from the management. And now with the technology, these three combination are definitely going to give them a level up or notch up, or it will help them to perform their work in a better manner. Now, in pharma, patient centricity is at the core. And how do we amalgamate these learnings to improvise our patient experience, which will ultimately result into the adherence? So we have to actually encompass this entire learning to first, that how do we use this learning or data or study which has come out to increase the patient awareness? How do we increase for patient support and patient adherence? So, whenever we are making strategies, I think these three parameters, awareness, assistance, and adherence. So, we have to keep these three A's in the center for patient centricity, and it is very crucial for each marketeer that we are thinking from this angle. You have a lot of data and study which is available. We get a lot of new scientific papers which are coming out. We have to utilize each of this learning not just for communication, but to formulate our strategy in a better manner that can ensure that we are ensuring that there's a better patient outcome.
True. I think two key messages, I think, for our audience. One is, AI adoption. I think I also personally believe is not an option. We have to embrace AI today. And instead of trying to resist the change, it's better to love the change. So it's a good change and let's all, love it. Second thing, I think, which you rightly said, the three A's. Uh, in my mind, a number of strategies which some of the pharma companies have already started implementing on adherence, awarenesses, for example, automating the marketing campaigns, looking at segments of patients where adherence is not happening, identifying them. As you said, the data is large and it's going to become even larger and may possibly be blasted off in the coming years. That's the way in which we are generating the data. With more and more, I think, digital devices and the adoption of these, we see that this will be something which will be a very important parameter going to influence key leaders like you in formulating the strategy. So data will become kind of, maybe we'll have someday an AI manager, a robot who tells that this is going to work. I don't know really know how things would be in the future. And
So, sorry to interrupt here, Soumya, but see, this AI which is there, it is artificial intelligence, but the wisdom to use that data lies only in human. So there is no AW, there is no artificial wisdom. We have artificial intelligence. So how wisely we use this data, and as rightly said, no, Soumya, we cannot resist from this change. We have to embrace it. We have to learn it and utilize to our best. How can we perform our work effectively using these technology? Should be our outlook.
and if we do that, since patient centricity has always been the core for a pharma, if that can be served and if the last patient in the entire chain gets benefited, I think there's nothing like it, because end of the day, if the patient is happy, we can all understand that the business and everything aligns, with in that way. So you're right. And I think I've seen many of the organizations, not only pharma, but even the healthcare system, the provider side, taking ample actions today, discussing how technology can even capture small things like, the patient experience at the reception desk, the patient experience at the bedside, the nurses interaction. They want to even capture those small moments, because maybe the medicine is everything and the physician is great, but the experience somewhere fell short of the expectation of the patient, and he did not really feel that good about the entire process. So there are providers who are also looking at capturing every small bit of experience and trying to work towards that as well, from the industry. Of course, Lupin being a strategic player, I'm sure you have a lot of things on the plate to take forward. So, with your experience, on a closing note, what advice would you like to give, especially to the young professionals, the upcoming managers in the pharma industry who are going to take on leadership roles? Any suggestions for them that, how could they?
Okay. So, Soumya, I had privilege of interacting with young professionals. So I was working, I had taken few lectures at one management college, especially into pharma marketing. And interacting with them, it gives me a very different perspective to think, because these kids are fresh out of college and they have understanding of pharma as only a marketing, that pharma. So the on first day when I asked them that what are your aspirations, since you have enrolled yourself into pharma marketing course, are your aspirations, everyone unanimously said that we want to become a brand manager. See, most of them are presently not aware also about the other opportunities which are there. Apart from marketing, there are multiple opportunities also which are there. The advice from my experience till now, I would like to give them is Rome was not built in a day. It will take time. There is no alternative for hard work. We have to work tremendous, we have to work really hard. And we have to be patient, go to the details, understand the entire market, and then take a decision rather than being impulsive or being impatient, that if certain things are not getting yielding into a result as expected, we must not leave that project or that career opportunity or any activity for that matter at that point. We must be perseverant, or resilient would be a correct word. So we must learn to be resilient, work extremely hard, because in initial days of your career. So, one quote which really motivates me, it was from Vijay Merchant. It says the total amount of hard work which you have to do in your entire life is constant. If you do that in early stage of your career, your later stage of career will be very progressive. But at early stage of your career, if you are very relaxed and not putting that hard work, you will have to slog in later stage of your career. So this is your time. You have ample time. You have a long runway in front of you. Make sure that you are learning and utilizing this time which is available with you to the optimum, because this time is not going to come back. Utilize this time effectively and identify your niche. You identify your niche and express yourself to your seniors, your management. Be very vocal about it, whatever are your aspirations, but understand and identify your niche. So, to summarize into three: number one, be resilient, be patient. Number two, there is no alternative to hard work. And number three is identify your niche.
Oh, wonderful. I think this is really, really good advice. And we are also energized. I also feel, I think, 10 years younger, listening to your advice, to work even harder and adopt this. As you rightly said, this is the AI era. We should all really learn, deep dive into it and leverage it to the maximum potential. Thank you so very much, Viral, for sharing your valuable experiences and expertise with us. I'm sure our listeners have gained a lot from your perspective on leadership, marketing, and the future of pharma. We wish you continued success at Lupin and beyond. To our listeners, we hope you found this episode of Pharma Marketing Playbook, Data, Gen AI, and beyond as enlightening as we did. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more from industry leaders like Viral, don't forget to subscribe to the Pharma Marketing Playbook. Stay tuned for more insightful episodes. Until next time, this is Saumya Prakash signing off. Stay innovative, stay informed, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in pharma marketing. Thank you once again for tuning in. Thank you so much, Vidal, for your
Thanks,
valuable
Soumya.
time.
It was pleasure to be part of this very enriching, exciting podcast. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining us in this episode. We hope that the deep insights and knowledge shared today will help your business and brand grow by leaps and bounds. Remember to follow the podcast. And if you wish to know more about Multiplier AI solutions, please visit the links given in show notes.